Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Glitz and Glitter. I've got a little bit of something different for you today. So, I want my own Druzy inserts, and instead of ordering, I'm going to make my own. So, I figured if I'm going to make them, maybe you guys want to make your own as well instead of buying them. So, I'm just going to make one and then I'll duplicate it from this one so I don't waste too much of this. So, all you're going to need is some broken glass and whichever mold you want, obviously, and some silicone, liquid silicone. I have this left over from some other molds that I was making. So we're going to make like the mold to make the silicone insert. So first what I did was I took this glass, this crushed mirror that you could probably get at any store. I'll link where I can get it or where I got it below if you want. And I took like a sifter and I sifted apart the little tiny pieces which are in here from the large pieces which are in here because I want larger crystals on my little Druzy insert. So then I'm kind of dry fitted them in here. So I'm going to mix up like 1 ounce of resin and get these coated, barely coated, and then we're going to let it cure before we start on the silicone. What I'm going to do is dump this in the cup. It basically was just in there to see about how much I need, but I can always add more. Just be careful not to scratch your molds because I know this is broken glass and it's sharp, so be careful. And the idea that I have is to keep it chunky. That way, when we pour the silicone on top of it, it's going to have that nice crystally effect. So I'm probably not going to use, I probably mixed way too much because I just barely want it wet. I want it wet enough where it's going to stick together, but not wet enough to make it flat. So if you think you put too much in like I did, just add some more glass. You don't have to use all the glass. And then you can reuse this one once it's cured over and over because the silicone is going to dry in like 30 minutes and you'll be able to pull the first one off and make more so you won't have to wait overnight every time you want to make an insert. And the silicone that I have, which I'll link below as well, where I got it on Amazon a while ago when I was making some of my own molds. Um, it's a 1-to-1 ratio just as well, just like resin is. And you mix it the same way until it's all equally mixed and there's no streaks in the color, which we'll do when this is cured tomorrow. Which I think I'm going to need some more because you want it like really bumpy. I just don't want a lot of resin on it. So the mirror part that sticks up is what's going to make your Druzy insert shiny so it does look like crystals when your resin comes off of it. That's probably good enough. Then when this is cured, we're just going to pour our silicone right over this. All right, be right back. Depending on what kind of resin you use, you're going to want to keep checking it every couple hours. And you're going to want to be able to peel this up off of the mold to get it out of the silicone so we can get it into something we can put silicone on, because silicone will stick to silicone. So if you pour this silicone onto here, it will adhere to your mold and you will never get it off. So we're going to transfer this while it's pliable into a bowl or something that you have that will not, oops, that will not, and I kind of want the edges up because I want to make it smaller than it actually is. That way the inlay will fit inside the mold we just took it out. So I'm hoping to keep the silicone. So we kind of want to let it cure with the edges up just a little bit. And then we will pour the silicone into here and make as many as you want. So we're going to just let this cure for the rest of the day, and then we will come back and we will mix up our our liquid silicone and get some Druzys made. Quick note, I did pull it out of the bowl because I forgot to put in like parchment paper or wax paper into the bowl. That way it is still sticky, so the resin will stick to your bowl. And I did not want to pry it off or break the bowl, so I pulled it out real quick, wiped it down with acetone to get all of the stickiness off, and then I put in this. I've mixed up the liquid silicone, and the one that I have that I will link below is 1 to 1, just like the resin is by volume. So I did half an ounce of each, part A and part B, and I mixed it for 5 minutes. Now, what I'm going to do is just try to keep it just under um, the outside part because it is a little bit poured like a bowl, but barely. So I just want to pour this just until it covers the highest part because you don't want them too deep that they would be sticking out of your coaster mold. And then these take about 30 minutes until they're completely cured. Then you can pull it out and make as many as you would want. So keep this um, glass piece. See, I didn't use the whole thing. I don't want it too much. I do want to make sure it covers the highest piece of glass though. So I am using a little bit more. So depending on the size of your coaster will depend on how much you're going to use. Now, what I'm noticing is I did have a hole on the bottom of it and it is leaking through, which shouldn't be any big deal. It should stop itself. So I'm just going to stop there because I don't want that edge. I want it to fit into my coaster mold nicely. So once this cures, we'll pull it out and I'll make probably three or four more. I'm not sure if I want a set of 4 or a set of 6. So we'll figure that out. It's dry, it's ready to demold. So let's see how easy this is to come out. Now just be careful because this is broken glass and it is extremely sharp. And it takes a little bit of work to get it loose. See that shine? So all those sparkles are going to be in whatever project that you make when you pull this out. So I'm going to make some more off camera and then we will go ahead and use these in a coaster. I decided instead of making a whole bunch, let's test one. So I put one inside the mold that we made it in, and it sticks to the bottom pretty well. These edges may not stick, they're kind of coming up, but that's okay. It's not going to make any difference. So I mixed up 2 ounces of resin, and I'm going to just tint it. We're going to do just a real generic one, and I don't want it dark because you want to see the druzy. So I'm just going to barely put color in here, but I want a little bit of color. So it's going to be super, super transparent. And of course, I picked blue because I always pick blue. And like I said, really, really transparent because I want to see if it's going to sparkle. And if these work out the way I think they're going to work, I will make a whole bunch and we'll do some other kinds of coasters with these. So on a piece of paper towel, you can test your color if you're working with transparents because it's hard to tell. And that is like perfect, I think. You could barely see it, and that's what I wanted. So it's basically just pouring this over the insert and waiting for it to cure. And then we will get it out and see how it looks. I don't want to get ahead of myself. If I need to make adjustments to the insert, then I can do that before I make a whole bunch. So I am not going to torch this because that insert is right close to the top of this. And we might have to trim some of these off because I think it's already domed. I don't want to over pour. And they're still kind of sticking out of the top. So we'll definitely am going to trim a little bit off of the top of the high pieces. Just spritz that and let's see what happens tomorrow. It's the next day. This is cured. It's a little bit bendy because I did it so late at night, but I did want to show you while I was doing that. I just made another one. See how shiny that is? Hopefully it worked in this one. I did trim this one off. This one needs a little bit of trimming as well. So we're just going to get it out, and it seeped up underneath, which I knew it probably would do. So we'll just trim this off. Sometimes it rips right off. So we'll just trim that. In the meantime, I just want to see. This is just a test piece. I'm not going to do any finish work to it, like top coat it or edge it or anything. I just want to see how the Druzy looks. So you will, if it gets up underneath, you will have to take that off. As you can see, it comes off pretty simply. And then pull this out. And let's hope it came out like crystals. That piece is up underneath. There we go. As you can see, it's bending a lot. It's not fully cured. Now, if this wasn't a test piece, I would be doing a better job getting these little pieces out from underneath before I pull this out. But because it's just a test and I can make more, I'm just going to rip it out. And it's probably soft because it is so thin. Because of this piece, it's extra thin. Take your time to work it out. You don't want to rip your Druzy to pieces, which I just did. So this side looks nice and clean. And so does that. So it worked just fine, guys. Now there are these tiny little spots that have no resin on them. So you might want to use a deeper mold with these, or just go through and trim off all the high pieces. But anyway, that's it, guys. A DIY Druzy insert. Super easy. And you can put this in anything you want to have that effect. Doesn't have to be a coaster. I just did a coaster because it only took a couple ounces to try. So I do have a bonus unmolding for you. I had some extra resin. I already had this word in. It's been in here for a couple weeks now, waiting for extra resin. So I had extra resin and I decided to put some seashells in the back of this cross instead of doing glitter or a color. So let's get this unmolded and see what it looks like. That looks great. What it needs is clear coat. If you've seen my last video on the cross, the part here that's not the word, it is a little dull. I didn't think that it was. But you definitely always have to put a clear coat on top of your crosses because it will never come out shiny. But the word looks great. Nothing was missed. You could see the glitter in the word. So once this is top coated, it's going to look awesome. Bottom needs a little bit of trimming, but that's no big deal. So yeah, thanks guys for coming in. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you guys try this. It's pretty simple. And you can have as many as you want with your little Druzy template. So you guys have a blessed day. I will see you on the next one.